Talk about why you chose the People's Party and if you would like to respond to those allegations.
Yeah, I see some people in the chat probably want us to talk about the other big news of the week, and that is Cornel West's 2024 run. I know that David did a video about this. Ben had some really good takes on Twitter about this. I just saw that Cornel West had an interview with Democracy Now! This morning. I put a link to it in our private chat. And at around the 18-minute mark, he kind of addresses the elephant in the room that we've all been wanting him to address, which is why the People's Party? Like, why run with them? And in my opinion, it seemed like he was completely caught off guard by the allegations that Amy Goodman brought up. And I'm sure that all of us on this panel cannot relate to be taken aback by allegations against one of our longtime colleagues. But you can kind of see that he is kind of shell shocked by it. In my opinion, that was my assessment. But I thought this might be interesting because it's a big update to this story.
Democracy Now!, we ask very critical questions. I also want to read from a New Republic article about your candidacy and about the People's Party. The article states, quote, while the party began in 2017 with noble roots to form a new political party independent from corporate money and influence, it's been mired in troubling allegations as well as broader organizational dysfunction, numerous sources of corroborated sexual harassment allegations against party founder Nick Brana. Last year, former party member Paula Jean Swearingen said she'd witnessed Brana try to force himself onto former party executive director Anna Day, who confirmed the allegations herself. Numerous party board members were apparently forced out for encouraging investigations into the allegations and questioning whether Brana was still fit to lead the party, unquote. Brana has also praised the prominent anti-vaxxer Robert Kennedy Jr., who's also running for president, but as a Democrat. He described Kennedy as a, quote, courageous leader whose environmental and vaccine advocacy has illuminated issues that few dare to confront. So he's the founder of the party that you're running with, the People's Party. Talk about why you chose the People's Party and if you would like to respond to those allegations. And also the bigger point of why you didn't choose, for example, if you wanted to be outside the race, the Green Party, which has more ballot access. But that's a lot there, Cornel.
Right.
Yeah, no, indeed. And I appreciate that question too, my dear sister. I mean, I have a great love for my Green Party brothers and sisters. I've worked twice with them, and so I have nothing against their third party operations. It would be nice if we had even a coming together, but that's something that is for a different show. But in terms of the history of the People's Party, I was there at the founding. There's no doubt about that. And I've been a kind of honorary member of the board, even though I haven't participated, so I haven't followed all of the insides and outsides of what has happened. It strikes me that there's been some very bad and ugly moments. There's no doubt about that, but I don't want to adjudicate as to who actually is guilty or who's actually innocent, because I just don't know. But there has to be accountability, and especially when it comes to sexual harassment in terms of sisters of any color, those are very, very important issues to wrestle with and very serious charges in that regard. But as I said before, that for me, I wanted to be able to bring a serious critique to bear on the corporate duopoly.
Yeah, you could do that up there, bro. That's the point.
The People's Party, in its inception and in its vision, is a populist one. So you got a number of different voices, heterogeneous. It is very loose. A lot of people say, well, is it an organization at all? I mean, it does anything hold it together and so forth and so on. Well, that we shall see. Those are very important questions. I don't want to act as if that they aren't serious challenges. I think that if we can deliver in such a way that we are treating each and every working person and poor people of any color with great respect in this campaign, if we can raise voices to shape the discourse and dialogue in this campaign, if we can not just bring pressure to bear, but begin to point out that the choice between
I can't take it no more.
Neil fascist
I'm waiting for you to finish.
Trump
All right, we got it.
Criminal in so many ways.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think he's really going to properly.
Deep Negro spiritual side.
I mean, let's start by saying he announced on Russell Brand show, right?
Yeah.
That's already. What are you doing?
All right. So I'm putting out a video probably on Saturday on my channel. I did like our conversation, me, FD Signifier, Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, Consciously, Rebecca, Zora, and Gabrielle Perry. So we have a very diverse group of Black leftists to unpack this, because none of us have a clean take, because as Black people of every different perspective coming at it, we have a general respect for Cornel West. You know, I very much so, I want to be clear, I'm not coming out the side of my neck about him. I very much so, I like to respect Black intellectuals and leaders that have come before you in their different times. I don't want to think you get popular on Twitter so you could sound off the side of your neck and, you know, diminish a person's whatever, right? So I felt like that needed discussion rather than a take. But we did unpack it, and y'all will see it's a great episode. How we're talking, and we did come to the conclusion. So I've already come to the conclusion. I'm at the tail end of that episode, so I know now definitively that this some bullshit, right? This right here is some bullshit. Okay, this right here is definitively some bullshit. First of all, Cornel West, my brother, wrote an op-ed last month, May 12th, 2023, about Ron DeSantis being a revolutionary, operating in the spirit of a revolutionary with what he's doing with education in Florida. May 12th. That happened May 12th. Okay, boom. Right. Then on the next thing you do after you announce with the People's Party, which I'm about to double back to. We double back, but I know after you, then you on Russell Brand. Talking about Russell Brand is a progressive gem.
And Kim Iverson.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Kim Iverson.
I know you fucking lying, but I'm not getting that because I don't
Russell Brand.
It sucks.
Russell Brand, though. Russell Brand, like I was never a fan, but Russell Brand did sort of push himself in the very beginning, as sort of
10 years ago.
Nobody, no elderly Black civil rights adjacent civil rights leader should be out here calling Russell Brand a motherfucking thing. Okay, not a nothing. He shouldn't even be in your mouth the day after you announce. Like, what are we doing here? Stop the bullshit. Like, and let me tell you, no, that's nonsense. And then so back to the People's Party, right? Okay. If you, first of all, I think several things. I'm all for, I'm not somebody innately against third party candidacy or you want to run. I do think there's something to why can't we have third party candidacy run for Congress? Why can't we dip our toe in the race and get some people in Congress and stuff before we jump in to the presidential elections on a vanity project at the when we have serious shit a cracking, right? So that's boom. So if you're going to do something on some purely clearly, we know, everybody knows unequivocally, he is not in it to win. He does not believe he's going to win. That's not the plan. That's not the intention. Even in his little video he put out, this is all about, you know, the spirit of whatever it is he thinks he's advancing. But what the fuck are you advancing really? Because why'd you choose the People's Party, right? This is a party that started in 2017. It has lower ballot access. Its founder is a repeat. It's not just that he has a bunch of sexual assault and harassment allegations. It's within his own party, a bunch of different people verified, and the whole thing is a hot mess. So why? And then you want me to believe? And listen, us, yes, while we have previously had a member and not known things, we are not running for president. This is a podcast. I be high. If you run for president, on a ticket, I expect you to know something about that party. Then if you tell me you was at the founding of the party, you're on the advisory board of the party, and you're not running for president on the party, you're not going to tell me you missed the T when the party's founder had a bunch of sexual assault allegations. Cap. I call cap. That's foolishness, because this is not unlike Joe Biden. Cornel West is very much so alive. Wherewithal is there. He right here. He here with us. He know what he's doing. So that's foolishness there. And I say this, if you're going to be here, if you want to convince us that you're here, because he said in this little video that he believes running for president is a means of getting this kind of justice, this kind of truth forward, this kind of, well, then who's it for? Because if you're not going to do something because you're trying to win and you're for a spirit or you're pushing some kind of issue, what is it? Because I haven't heard you seem to, you riding off the love of what the Black community has, but I'm not hearing much Black shit. I'm not hearing much anything. I don't want to see you surrounded by Black people. You talking about Russell Brand, you here with the People's Party. Why would a old Black academic, intellectual, and civil rights leader damn near be out here wanting to follow a party that started in 2017 by some middle-aged white boy with a bunch of accusations and that's only present in a couple states. What the fuck is up with that? I have questions. I have concerns, especially if it comes on the heels of you doing politics, like saying Ron DeSantis is a revolutionary, moving in the spirit of a revolutionary. You're doing fuck. But I respectfully, you are doing fuck. Now, if you just go do this scholarly shit, go do that. Go do that. But this right here, I'm not fucking with this. Oh, okay.
It got worse. It started off bad to me as soon as he said the People's Party. I don't have a problem with a third party campaign, except for exactly what you said, Ole. It's the fact that they really only pop up when it's time for the presidential election, when it's the impossible thing for them to accomplish, right? The Green Party during the full-blown dim exit of 2016, I think they got 2%, not even 2% of the vote, right? And so it's extremely difficult to get enough traction on the federal level, but we don't see these parties actively doing anything on the local level in the United States. I know the Green Party is very active on the ground level in Europe. But that said, putting that aside, it's Cornel West presents a particular threat if he was associated with a party that actually could do something about it. And I say a threat in two different ways. I say it as a good thing and a bad thing. We do need more power to be taken away from the duopoly. There's no question about that. But in this moment, if Cornel West is even moderately successful, if he gets 2%, 3%, and he's pulling that specifically from the black vote, who does that help? That does not help justice. That does not help liberation. That does not help everything that he's talking about, everything that he's trying to inspire us around, which he's going to do. I didn't give the caveat at the beginning that Ole gave. I should have, because with all due respect, like, I love Dr. West. I've studied Dr. West for more than 20 years.
Oh, so much.
I have read his books. He's a hero. So I don't like talking out of school, especially about our elders, but I'm sorry, even if he's moderately successful, it is a bad thing, because he's going to give someone like Ron DeSantis the assist that he needs to go all the way to the White House.
Yeah.
And he's dealing with the party, and he's dealing with that, honestly, he's lending his name to more than that party can do anything for him. So maybe I don't even have to worry about him getting a moderately good, like 1 or 2 or 3%, because the party is so dysfunctional.
Yeah. And I would have understood more. Like I said, if he ran for the Green Party, it'd be different. If he ran, even if he ran on the Democratic, if you want to be there, if you want to really, because I do believe if somebody like RFK, who is nobody and half of anybody don't even know he running, like can get something in the polls, I'm sure that Cornel West could, because there is a populace of black people, especially who won't know it. And well, yes, it will go for you over something. So I do believe that he would have an ability to be an issue candidate. I believe that he would be able to push some needle, do something in terms of rhetoric. But I think this entire strategy he has chosen says to me that that's not what you're here for, especially based on what he's recently espousing, where he's aligning himself, what I see out of the People's Party. They on Twitter talking about MLK would be anti-woke. You missed that, babe? Yeah. Missed it?
Also, very turfy, transphobic post that the People's Party has made. I mean, this doesn't align with Cornel West. I mean, Cornel West, like as you all said, he's a hero to me. So when I saw this, immediately my feeling was cognitive dissonance. It's like, okay, somebody is in his ear telling him something. He's not online, trying to rationalize it, because I mean, when you kind of I don't want to say that I've deified Cornel West, but like, he is one of the few people in this country that has consistently been like on the right side, speaking out, and the way that he words things, like it's Cornel West, you know what I mean? So it's hard to see him align with these really nefarious actors who, and part of the issue is that really bothers me, is this party. I mean, the organization itself, let's say that you have some random person, they see Cornel West, they love Cornel West, they donate money to this party. Where's that money going to go? There's no transparency there. There's not trust. How much people will be duped just because it's Cornel West, you know? And that's what really worries me.
That part. Yeah. That part. And then that money also, can I just keep it a little bit more 100? The fact that money is going to go to an institution that's founded by and chaired by a white man who has not demonstrated to me to have a lick of concern about the black community. However, the most fertile donation base for him is going to be the Black community, right? So even if it's just the financial donations, yes, but then even the data, all of the data and money that's going to be grifted from the Black community isn't going to Cornel West. Cornel West is not going to be processing that data. Nick Brana is going to be processing that data.
Oh.
It feels
That's
very
terrible.
exploitative. And I just want to send a shout out to Renee Johnston. She was somebody who signed up to be a volunteer with the People's Party way back in the day. And she was one of the first people who blew the whistle and got so much shit for it. But she explained how this isn't really, like, this isn't a real thing. There's no support for people on the ground who really wanted to build an alternative, right? And so, like, Ben's point really, you made such a great point about this, also on Twitter as well. You know, if this were the Green Party, as Ole said, I would also feel better about this, because you have the Green Party and the Libertarian Party every single cycle, right? So
Yes.
theoretically speaking, you know, you have Green Party pulling from Dems, Libertarians pulling from Republicans. But if you add an extra component to that, to hypothetically take more votes away from the Democratic Party, we could be undercutting ourselves. And I'm done with the whole, you know, well, third parties, maybe there's a chance. I've been really frustrated with the third party movement, because nobody wants to put in the work to actually get a real third party. Like, you have to get electoral reform. Like, I was under the assumption in 2016, and correctly so, that perhaps since Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were so unlikable that we could just kind of like overpower Duverger's law, you know, put aside our first past the that didn't happen. Like, as Ben said, Jill Stein got like what, 1-2%. So you have to actually change the electoral institutions. We need proportional representation, at a minimum ranked choice voting. And I've seen everybody put the cart before the horse here, and you can't do that. You've got to change the institutions to get another party. And even if in a perfect world we get a multi-party system, capitalism is still going to corrupt each and every single one of those parties, because the Democratic Party used to be a working class system. So we need to get to the root causes if we really want to disempower these elites.
Right. And one other thing, if I could just real quick on this one, is these parties. And again, I try to hold my critique of the Green Party, because I've seen the Green Party do some things over the years. I just see them lean in more when it's every 4 years. But the fact that the groundwork that is necessary to actually even give Cornel West a fighting chance in hell has not begun. I mean, 6 years is not a long time. 2017, when he started this party, it's not a terribly long time. But if you're serious about it, you would have laid the groundwork across this country in some form or fashion. And we're starting from zero. So what does that do? That every 4 years, we're given a bit of hope for a third party that's starting from scratch every 4 years. People like to say that we're sheep herding people over to the Democratic Party, but these third parties who show up every 40 years, they give you hope, they take your money, and then they disappear for another 4 years. How are we going to win that way?
Yeah, I just think there has to be more of a strategy doing that in like during the whole time. There has to be consistency. There has to be some kind of mobilization around a person. Like I completely agree with Ben. I'm very much so. Listen, I believe that I have no problem innately with third parties or doing that. I don't think that you should just try to preserve a two-party system forever. But I think there's something very dangerous when you mostly fall out of, you know, in the background, and then suddenly you just take a very political theory class, moral approach to, God damn it, you know what I mean? In the middle of election shit, y'all better fucking third party. God, like, you know what I mean? It becomes this whole, and I'm like, but bro, hold on though. Realistically, you know, they're not about to win. You know, that's not what's happening right here in this particular moment. And like I said, I just think they could do something. You can still impact. You can be impactful without winning, right? Like, we all acknowledge that with a Bernie and everybody. People can be impactful without winning a presidential election, what it is. I think you can be a very valuable issue candidate and stuff like that. Let's not forget, that's what Trump originally jumped in the game for. So people can surprise you. I just think it has to be strategized in a sensible way. And very often I see a lot of these people who do this, do it in a way that says to me that you not only have no intention to win, but you really don't have intention to push a movement. You have to have some other kind of agenda, because if it was really to push it, this is so obviously nonsensical, not the approach to do it. This can't do anything but tarnish a legacy. You know what I mean? That's what I.
Mike, your story reminded me of something. When I woke up that morning, I got like a message from my mom, and she knows how much I love Cornel West, and she was like, "Cornel West is running for president," and I was like, "Oh, no way!" And then I went online right away, and it was like, for the People's Party. Like, just looking stink in my seat.
There was a meme I saw that I shared in my video that was exactly that. It was like, oh, Cornel West is running, and then it's like, oh, People's Party.
I saw that. Yeah,
No.
it's one of these things
not
where
like
like
this. Not like
if
this.
10 years ago you said, Mike, there's going to be a day where Cornel West runs for president, I would shit myself and think, holy fuck, this country is going to be in a much better place. But this is not how I envisioned it happening. I mean, look, if he just forewent all of this and announced in 2024 in a Democratic Party primary, he's 70, but he's still young compared to other people like Biden. That is where you can actually really build a groundswell. Yeah. And I think he probably has more potential than Bernie. So it just it feels like a missed opportunity, and it's disappointing.
At least I'm not worried he's going to take. I'm no longer worried that he's gonna like cause Trump to win or something anymore. I think it's a legitimate thing in discussion. But like I said, we had a whole hour unpacking of this. FD has convinced me. So y'all hear FD's thoughts about it on Saturday, child, because I'm like, all right, I'm fine.
One thing that I will say about this,
a lot of discussion's been around like third parties, and I just think it's disappointing that, like, because we've been talking on this show, people have been like, oh, have Marianne Williamson on, and it's like, oh, she's not going anywhere in the Democratic primary, because and my reasoning has been, because she's not a candidate that has a movement behind her. She's not going to be able to even, the point to run in a primary against an incumbent is to, at the very least, push the incumbent further to the left so you could get some sort of concessions out of them. But Marianne Williamson has no movement behind her to do that. If Cornel West had stepped into this race in the Democratic primary, now that's a guy who could have at the very least done that very thing. He could have been the guy to push Biden even further left, and then at the end of the day probably end up dropping out, endorsing him, and whatever, getting concessions out of him.
We'd all be wearing t-shirts.
Yeah, this is going to, what this is going to end up doing, like Olay said, there's no, with the People's Party behind them, it's not going to hurt Biden at all. There's going to be no threat. Biden's campaign's not going to worry one lick about him. All he's doing is hurting his own legacy, and it's sad.
Do you all think if they got a sudden influx of money into the People's Party that they would be able to create an infrastructure sufficient to be a problem?
No, because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. It's not a legitimate
want to start in 2017, and in 2017 as a political party in this country, in a massive nation that already has a two-party system where third-party candidates and parties have never really been able to achieve any success. Start a party in 2017, be riddled with sexual assault allegations within the organization, with the own organization's higher ups saying the organization is full of shit, has no structure, no vision. The guy is a rascal. No, you're dead in the water, baby. It's over for you.
And on top, this seems almost tiny compared to everything else Olay said, but the cherry on top is ostensibly the most progressive candidate in the race would be Cornel West, the guy running for the People's Party. But the founder and the head guy of the People's Party is on the record literally praising the most right-wing candidate in the Democratic primary. It makes zero sense.
It ain't. It's not looking too hard.
Did Cornel not? Did he wake up and just decide to take this endorsement without talking to anyone? Because it seems more and more and more like just completely batshit illogical, like. But then it's at the same time, I don't want to infantilize him, and because he's a grown man who's really able to read contracts and is brilliant. Like, so there's really no excuse for him not knowing what the hell happened.
He didn't know. By the way, I meant to say that because I forgot that. Mike, you did preface the video with you believe that he didn't know. I don't know what gave you that impression. He said, I don't want to adjudicate the matter. Thank you for that question. Blah 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 blah. And he proceeded to go on a nice long monologue and start doing what a nice intellectual does, and that's move the fuck on. Tell you about he never told you. That is not a man who just heard that shit for the first time. Could you imagine? He said, well, it is true that I was at the founding of the party, and also true that I am on the advisory board, meaning I advise. I also am running for president on the ticket. This is true. I've heard these, I wouldn't want to adjudicate the matter because I don't know what happened, but that's why it's important, to really be a part of a movement. Like, sir, he never said he didn't hear it. Nothing about him gave. oh, I didn't hear that shit before. If he hadn't heard that shit, his eyes would have been like this. He'd have been looking at his people like,
he was so unprepared to answer it though. That's
yeah,
why
I was the way Mike described it. I was really like, oh, put Cornel West back on camera. I want to see the shocked face that he's got. I want to see him like they're gonna cut back and he's gonna be like. But it wasn't. It wasn't.
He looked, in my defense, part of it is probably cognitive dissonance because, again, I fucking love Cornel West, and we lost Noam Chomsky this year. I don't want to lose another intellectual, especially, Cornel West. Lost meaning we canceled the fuck out of him. Anyways, but he just looked very dejected. And back to Ben's question about like if can this be a launching point? I feel like the party itself is fundamentally unserious, and I know this based on one thing that they did, which is still shocking to this day. So they paid $20,000 to commission a logo for them that they ended up not using. Like, do you know how much we paid for the Leftist Mafia logo? $0. Lance made it. Do you know how much we paid for the Humanist Report logo? $0. I made that shit. Nobody pays $20,000 for a logo if they're a serious political party or any political organization. It's just
unless they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and that money goes right into Nick Branagh's pocket. That's what's going on there.
I'll be honest. You mentioned the Noam Chomsky stuff, and honestly, to me, running for the People's Party is basically like running for mayor of Little St. James, to be quite frank.
No, it's really it ain't adding up. It's not adding up. No part of it is adding up. But y'all heard my rant, so y'all know my thoughts. Who we supposed to talk about? They talking about Marillac. We didn't talk about Trump yet. That I imagine we did.
Wait. On Cornel West, just did you watch any of you watch his appearance on Russell Brand show? Because this is why I still think he doesn't know what the hell's going on, because he watches Russell. He said he watches his show every day. It's his favorite show.
Is that
That's not true.
Who said that?
Cornel West, while on Russell Brand's show, he said he loves him. I watch you every day.
That.
He knew his producer's name, who's like behind this, like has like a different camera, so he knows the show. He watches Russell Brand's show every day.
That is
like,
the opposite of not.
What is going on?
That's not the opposite. None of what y'all. You know what's funny?
What is
Mike
this
and
timeline?
David both have presented evidence that are helping convict this man. Trying to all that sounds like he knows what's happening.
I'm trying.
No, but
if
you watch Russell Brand's show, I think you don't know what the fuck's going on. Like that's my argument.
No, I mean, maybe self-preservation going on anywhere here. Self-preservation, long-term self-preservation, because there's been a lot of people who should know better, who are making some decisions that are realigning them a little bit away from us and more over there to the side that has the fascists in the streets. I'm not, is there any self-preservation in making these statements about Ron DeSantis being a champion of the classics? Like, I don't know, that's really starting to add up and bother me on this thing, because I really believe that he's too brilliant not to know, and then to be a regular student of Russell Brand. It's like, well, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this further?
Yeah, that's weird.
It is the way you just framed it there, Ben, too, is like Cornel West is the student to Russell Brand. Shouldn't it at the very least be the other way around? Like, what the fuck? Like,
I know.
What? Like, so bizarre. Listen, like, it really seems like the pandemic broke people's brains. Like, that is literally where we saw people flip like this. Like, yeah, there were the bits and pieces post-Trump, but 2020 is where people really flipped their lid. You can just look at the list of people who completely are different than what they were. I mean, Russell Brand's in that group. Again, he never was like Mr. Progressive, but he wasn't like this.